Tears flowed among Palestinians and observers during a recent UN meeting. Their shared pain echoed a universal truth, which is people are forced to flee their homes, whether to escape war, persecution, or in search of a better life, often at the devastating cost of their own safety and, tragically, their lives. This grim reality was brought into shape focus on Wednesday when a migrant boat capsized just meters from the shores of Spain's Canary Islands, claiming the lives of 4 women and 3 girls. The heartbreaking incident at El Hero's port drivers is in the perilous journeys undertaken by countless individuals driven by hope, yet confronted by unimaginable dangers. Onyi Yopala here. Let's begin. Yesterday, May 28, 2025, at the United Nations, emotions ran high at the United Nations Security Council on Wednesday as Palestinian Ambassador Raed Mansour broke down in tears while delivering a passionate address on the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Fighting back sobs, Mansour spoke of the harrowing conditions facing civilians in the besieged enclave, particularly the mounting toll on children. The Palestinian people have not lost their humanity, he said. You wouldn't find people who long for a normal life like our people in Gaza. Let's get that.
Is beyond the ability of any normal human being to tolerate. Flames and hunger are devouring. Since Israel broke the ceasefire in March, over 1,300 Palestinian children have been killed and around 4,000 have been injured. These are children. Children. And still, a war against barbarism. Children. Dozens of children are dying of starvation. The images of mothers embracing their motionless bodies, caressing their hair, talking to them, apologizing to them. This is unbearable. How could anyone tolerate this sorrow? Excuse me, Mr. President. I have grandchildren. I know what they mean to their families. And to see this situation of the Palestinians without us having hearts to do something is beyond the ability of any normal human being to tolerate. Flames and hunger are devouring Palestinian children. This is why we are so outraged as Palestinians everywhere, the 14 millions of us in the occupied territories, in the diaspora, in the refugee camps, in far places, all the way to California and in between. We love our children. We love our people. We don't want to see them going through this tragedy and this savage attacks by those who claim the virtues of fighting against barbarism.
Oh, very sad. And that video is courtesy Associated Press. While he was reading that speech, the chamber fell silent as Manso recounted the stories of families shattered by violence and children buried beneath the rubble. His raw emotion visibly moved many in the room, including the president of the Security Council, who was also seen wiping away his tears. The powerful moment came just hours after the United States voted a Security Council resolution that would have granted Palestinians full membership in the United Nations, a move supported by a majority of member states. The resolution's failure dealt a blow to Palestinian aspirations for international recognition and statehood. We observed that Ambazonian and Ambassador Mansour's speech served as both a plea for global solidarity and a condemnation of the ongoing suffering in Gaza. In his words, he says, "We are not numbers," he said. "We are people, parents, children, families yearning simply for dignity, peace, and for the future." The U.S. veto sparked renewed debate within the international community over the role of the UN in addressing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with the growing calls for urgent action to alleviate the humanitarian crisis and pursue a lasting political solution. At a time as such as this, we would expect that this same attention be given to Ambazonians. More children have been lost, more lives have been lost, but no one is giving them a listening ear. Well, while that happened yesterday, still yesterday, the 13th international meeting at high-level security representatives officially commenced in Moscow on Wednesday, drawing delegates from over 100 nations in a show of global participation. The summit, organized under the auspices of the Russian Security Council, is being closely watched amid heightened geopolitical tension and shifting alliances across Eurasia and beyond. The gathering, held annually, serves as a critical platform for discussing pressing global security concerns, including terrorism, regional conflict, cybersecurity, and the evolving dynamics of military cooperation. This year's session comes against the backdrop of an increasingly multipolar world, with Russia positioning itself as a central player in forging new strategic alliances outside the Western sphere of influence. On the sidelines of the summit, Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu held a series of bilateral talks with senior representatives from key geopolitical allies and partners. The meeting showed Moscow's intent to deepen its strategic cooperation with countries it sees as vital to counterbalancing Western influence. Shoigu's first major engagement was with Ali Abkar Ahmadjan, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. While during the meeting, Shoigu expressed optimism that Iran would move forward with the ratification of a long-anticipated strategic partnership agreement with Russia. The deal, which has been under discussion for months, is expected to cover a broad array of sectors, including defense, energy, infrastructure, and technology. In his words, he says, "We hope that in the very near future, the agreement will be finalized and formally ratified." The document reflects the mutual aspiration of our countries to build a sustainable long-term partnership based on trust, shared interest, and a common vision for a multipolar global order. Ahmadjan, in response, emphasized that Iran's commitment to deepening bilateral ties with Moscow, noting that the Tehran's view with partnership as a cornerstone of its foreign policy aims on Western sanctions and regional volatility. Shoigu also held talks with the Ri Chang-de, North Korea's Minister of State Security. While details of the discussions were not disclosed to pressmen, analysts speculate that the talks are likely focused on the regional security in the Northwest Asia, intelligence sharing, and cooperation in areas such as cybersecurity and surveillance. And so this meeting comes amid renewed international scrutiny over North Korea's missile programs and growing concerns about potential military cooperation between the Pyongyang and Moscow. In recent months, both nations have shown increasing willingness to present a united front in the face of Western pressure and isolation. Another notable meeting took place between Shogun and Milorad Dodik, the president of Republika Srpska, the Serb entity within the Bosnia and the Herzegovina. Dodik, a frequent visitor to Moscow and a vocal proponent of closer ties with Russia, used the opportunity to reaffirm Republika Srpska alignment with Russian foreign policy objectives. The consistent support Russia offers to the Serb people is something we deeply appreciate, said the Dodik. As he says, we see Russia not only a partner, but as a reliable protector of our interests in an increasingly hostile international environment. And so the summit itself will span several days, continuing from today, and it will feature keynote addresses, roundtable discussions, and closed-door sessions, which will be addressing global strategic stability. Russia has framed the event as an alternative diplomatic space to forums like NATO and the G7, emphasizing inclusivity and multipolarism. Kremlin sources says Russian Parliament Vladimir Putin may address the summit via video link or in person later in the week, underlining the importance Moscow places on this event as a means of solidifying its global partnership. Some analysts view the summit and the flurry of bilateral meetings as part of Russia's broader strategy to circumvent Western isolation and also build a new coalition of states willing to change the existing global order dominated by the United States and its allies. But observers and spectators will be watching closely for any announcement of new agreements, security arrangements, or even cooperative frameworks that will reshape regional balances and deepen divides on the global stage. While that was happening in Moscow, in El Hierro, Canary Islands, a migrant boat capsized just meters from the shore of Spain's Canary Islands on Wednesday, resulting in the deaths of 4 women and 3 girls. Local authorities have confirmed this. The vessel was attempting to reach the island of El Hierro when it overturned in the final moments of this perilous journey. Rescue teams responded swiftly to the chaotic scene at the port, where survivors were seen desperately clinging to ropes and life preservers thrown by emergency personnel. Eyewitnesses described the harrowing rescue operation as survivors struggled against the rough waters and exhaustion. Let's see that video. Well, this tragedy shows the ongoing risks faced by migrants attempting dangerous sea crossings to reach Europe or European shores. Despite increased patrols and rescue efforts in the region, overcrowded and unsafe boats continue to put vulnerable lives at grave risk. Authorities have launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the capsizing, while humanitarian groups are calling for increased support and safer migration pathways to prevent further loss of lives. The Canary Islands is a key entry point for migrants coming from Africa. And when we meet Africa, I'm sure some Ambazonians would be on their way as well. They have seen a sharp rise in arrivals this year, which has exacerbated challenges for local rescues amid aid organizations. And so efforts are on the way to provide medical assistance and psychological support to the survivors, many of whom have endured traumatic experiences during the crossing. And so this tragedy shows the urgent need for comprehensive cooperation to address the root causes driving people, dangerous migrations, and to protect those seeking safety and better opportunity. And so the answer is even simple. People want a better life and would go to any length just to get it, even if it means them losing their own life. Well, it's on that sad note we'll end today's Flash News. Just a gentle reminder that Undaunted news briefings would come in at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. Amba time. Until then, do have a wonderful day.